Alright guys, welcome to something new and different. Today we are going to oil paint. So this is something I do a little bit of on the side. I like to do a lot of different things. You can see some paintings I've done. This one I actually just did a couple days ago. This one I did maybe about a year ago. It's been a while. I've only been painting since the Christmas, I guess since the beginning of 2019. So it's been maybe almost a year and a half that I've been painting. This was one of the earlier ones I did. I learned all from Bob Ross. Bob Ross was the person who taught me everything. I learned how to do it. And when I first started watching him, it was just fun to watch him. And then I said one day, let's try it. Give it a try, why not? You know, can't go wrong. And sure enough, I liked it. I enjoyed it. And still to this day, I keep doing it because it's a lot of fun. Now, the best way I recommend to get started is watch him a lot, learn some of his techniques just by watching him, and then watch other people as well, because you'll learn all kinds of different things by watching different people. I got all of my paint supplies, bought them for half off on sales. Just looked for them like that, because painting can be a little bit expensive, but it really doesn't take much to get started. So today what we're going to do is I've got the colors here already on my palette. I'm going to list those down in the description below the video so you know what I've got. I'm going to start with the titanium white and work all the way around in a circle down to the bright red there. And if you'll notice, if you compare my palette to Bob's, it's a lot smaller. Normally I don't hold it either, but I'm kind of confined by space at the moment. In fact, I'll probably figure out a way to put it down sometime in the video. But I also don't use globs nearly as large as he does. And that's because when he did his videos, he would film and paint a couple different paintings every single time, so he needed a lot on there. You don't need nearly as much. I had to learn that lesson the hard way, because when you're painting, it's real easy to get it out and put it on here. It's real hard to put it back in. You can't really just stick it in there. So you can always add more to it, so start with a little. Little goes a long way in this whole thing. So we're going to be doing a wet on wet technique, and something I always have with me when I'm doing a painting is this little Funko Pop. Deadpool Bob Ross. Gotta love it. He inspires me all the time with my paintings, and I like to keep him handy and nearby. Normally I set him right on top of my easel, but when I'm not painting, but when I paint, he falls right off. So I need to get a way to stick him on there permanently better, or make it to where he stays stronger. That'd be a lot easier. So today I do a 16 by 20 inch canvas because it is very cheap to buy these in bulk. I think I can buy a pack of them, 5 of them, for like 10 bucks or something, making them really cheap and affordable, sometimes even less if you get them on a good sale. So that's the size I do. It's still a very good size canvas. You can also buy frames for cheaper at that rate as well, so it's really good. Today we're going to do a painting by Bob Ross, and I'm going to do it pretty actually similar to his. A lot of times I'll change something or do something a little different, but this one I think I just really like the way it is. I've got it pulled up on my computer over there so I can kind of glance at it and see what it kind of looks like. I'm going to link the video to him doing it in the description as well, so you can follow along with him and see what I do and kind of compare the differences. But yeah, so I've gone ahead, I've got this canvas covered in a liquid white, nice and thin. And that's the key word there, thin. It's nice and even, but there's very little paint. Like, it does not take much. That stuff will go on there easy. And the colors we put on there, it'll move no problem. So you just, with everything, little paint goes a long way. You can always add more. So we're going to go ahead and get started in here. We're going to start off with just a little bit of our Phthalo Blue. Phthalo Blue, as well as all the blues that we use, we got Phthalo and Prussian, are very, very strong. I mean, I've got very, very little paint in that paintbrush there. And I'm just going to go up here and we're just going to start dancing in a little sky. And you can see, literally, I just barely put any paint into this canvas and into the brush, and it just starts immediately going a long way. So we're going to start with the top and with the corners, and you work your way down, because as we work our way down, it gets lighter and lighter and lighter, and that's what we want. We want it to kind of fade down a little bit as we go, and I'm leaving purposefully some white spots. I'm not being perfect with it. I'm not leaving it all nice and smooth, and I'm making just little X strokes back and forth as I do it to kind of get rid of some of those harsh lines and things like that. And we'll come in here and we'll just dancing a little sky. And you want it to kind of be darker at the corners because we want to focus our sight into the middle of the painting. Let's see here. I'm going to just get a little bit more up in here. Yeah, just like that. Perfect. All right. So, I'm not going to be doing this in 30 minutes like Bob does. I'm not that fast. But we'll be doing it pretty quickly, and I'm thinking, you know what? We're going to have some water down here. And in fact, I know exactly where that water is going to go. In his video, he puts it all the way at the bottom, but I know right where that water is going to be about. So we're just going to dance it in right about in here. And I'm just taking it from the edge and pulling straight across, making straight water. Your water needs to be level. I make that mistake all the time. I'll be standing at the side of the canvas and I'll misinterpret what straight is, and sure enough, my water's just running right out of the painting. But that is okay, because we can fix everything, and you know what? Not everything's going to come out perfect. It just isn't. What matters is that it makes you happy when you're doing it, and that you enjoy your work. Like this is to be relaxing. This is the way I get my creative side out. I spend a lot of time being a jock. I work in a gym, so I spend a lot of time around being competitive and doing things like that. So I need a release for my creative brain to get it out in painting. Painting is the way I do it. Now, still with the same brush, have not washed it yet. I'm going to go straight into a little bit of Alizarin Crimson, just a little bit. Don't need much of it because red is nice and strong, and we don't want to set this sky on fire. We just want a little pink hue, and most of this is honestly going to get covered up. But you see there, I didn't quite get enough of it on there, but I can always add more. Oh goodness, what are we throwing down? Oh, see, Deadpool, he just loves to go flying. He is good about flying around and falling down. So I'm just going to bring that down into the horizon there. And now I've got a little piece of bristle right there on the painting, and don't go getting in there with your finger. You're just going to mess up your painting. You just want to take your brush, pick it off right off the edge, and I just use my easel to knock it off, and there it is, nice and gone. So I'm going to add just a touch more of that Alizarin Crimson here. We're going to put it in here on the sides, and then let's blend this all together much nicer. All right. So see, with this wet on wet technique, the more I keep brushing everything, the more everything gets softer and softer. And that's because we got that white paint in there, that liquid white is slowly diffusing the colors more and more. And it makes it real easy to just blend the colors right on the canvas. So let's go ahead and we're gonna fill in everything, get it nice and smooth through here. Now, sometimes with my easel, mine I have to kind of move it out of the way sometimes, just to be able to get back to the other parts of the canvas that I can't see too well. And yeah, right in there. All right. And the reason we leave some of these white spots in here is those just make the little indications of just some clouds off in the distance. Your sky is not perfectly blue. You don't have perfect clouds every time. It's always different. It's always changing. And that was one of my first favorite things when I started painting, was get outside and just take a look. Like, you'll see a painting and go, that's not realistic. Get outside, take a look at it. Look at the sky every chance you get, and you'll have a whole new perspective on life, and you'll see things that you've just never seen before. I kid you not, maybe the first week after I started painting, I just started looking at things and I was like, how would you paint that? And then I started thinking about it more and more, and I would see things and I would go, my God, that's not real. That's not what you would expect to see. But sure enough, it is. It is. All right. So I think that's pretty good for a sky right there. So let's go ahead. We're going to wash our brush. Now, we wash the brush same as Bob did. In fact, I'm going to set down this guy here. And I use odorless paint thinner because I'm painting inside. Definitely helps with the smell. The first time I did not get odorless paint thinner, and it did not work out well. So I've got this little brush cleaning thing bucket here. I put in the paint thinner and I wash off the paint. I go into a trash can, kind kind of bang off the excess. Come down to the bottom of the easel and just beat the devil out of it. And you'll see I use very cheap stuff. I use very, very cheap stuff, and you can still create beautiful works of art with very cheap things. And what happens is the paint starts to kind of build up in the bristles the more you use it. This one, however, is still pretty clean. So I like to try to keep one for more of my darker, dirtier colors, and then this one for like my lighter colors and things like that. So let's go ahead. We're going to grab ourselves a fan brush. We're going to dance us in a couple of clouds. So in order to do that, we're just going to run this fan brush, it's a little stiff right now, right into our titanium white. And we're just going to load that paintbrush full of color. I'm trying to soften up the bristles on it. It's a little stiff from the last time it got used. And then what we're going to do here is we're just going to come from the side, using the side of the fan brush, and just start making little circles. And just kind of drop in the shape of a little cloud. And I'm going to turn it over because this other side has now started to pick up some of that undercolor, and I can go over here and do it again. And so we're just going to create all kinds of little happy guys right up in here. All right, I'm going to come back in, grab myself some more white, load it full of color, and we're going to do it again. He lives right there. And let's see. You know what? I want to brighten him up. He needs a little more color, and then we're going to put a little stringy guy kind of right below him. Just kind of right here. He may not be too visible. That's all right. What's amazing with this technique is you work in layers. You work from back to front, and as you do it, the scene just becomes more and more alive with everything you do. So I am going to take the 1-inch brush here. I like to use the smaller brushes, and I'm just going to come down to the bottom because I don't want to touch the top edges of my clouds. I want to come into the bottom, and I just want to be real soft and kind of break up the bottom line of these clouds. Just kind of break up the bottom. Yeah, there we are. All right, and then this guy. And this one down here. All right, now I'm going to kind of sit here and beat the devil out of it, but I'm just doing that to kind of remove a little bit of excess paint. I don't need to wash it quite yet. And then what we're going to do is we're going to come in here and we're going to lift up. We're going to fluff up the clouds. Give them a little fluff. And you're going to see when you do this, you will have lines in your painting. And I remember the first time I did this, ooh, it scared me. But we're just using two of the little bristles and some air. We're not putting any pressure, being real light with it. I'm going to bang off some of that excess again, and then we're going to come back. And you know what? I'm going to use a 2-inch brush this time. And we're going to remove all those brush strokes that you created. And that will just slowly, and we're again being really light here, that will slowly push those clouds back into the sky. And just like that, you got some happy little clouds. All right. So, I'm going to drop him in there and start soaking, as well as this guy. So, now, as you can see from my paintings over here, I love mountains. Mountains are kind of my thing. I love to hike and climb mountains, really is the favorite thing. And so after my first climbing of a mountain, I think it was back in August of 2018, so 4 months later, I started painting mountains because it was too wonderful of an experience. I climbed some 14ers up in Colorado, and it was a wonderful time. So I have a goal. I want to climb the tallest mountain on every continent, and I want to do it as soon as possible. I'm not going to be young forever, so I got to get going on it now. I was supposed to go to Africa this year, but that didn't happen. So the virus kind of took that one away from me, but that is okay. It's what it is. We got to roll with the punches and get ready to do it next year, you know? So what I'm doing here, I've got my paint. I'm going to create a nice dark color because I want to have a nice mountain range going all the way across our painting here. So I've taken some black, I've taken some Prussian blue, some Phthalo blue, a little bit of brown, and a little bit of Alizarin Crimson. just trying to make a nice dark color. Now I'm not putting any green in there, any sap green, because when I go to put my snow on top of this mountain, I don't want to turn and have green snow. I want to have white snow, or at least a little bit of bluish snow. So mix that up, make it nice and dark. Doesn't have to be perfect because I'm working with all kinds of dark colors in here. I'm going to make some beautiful things happen on the canvas with all those dark colors. So once we've got it down, we want to take this and we want to pull it out nice and flat, and then cut us off a little roll of paint right there on the edge of the knife. So with that little roll of paint, we're now going to go up here and we're going to make the outline of our mountains. And these are going to be some big mountains, but they're not going to be jaggedy, you know? It's going to be a nice, long, kind of mountain range off here in the distance. And then kind of right here, we're going to have our biggest one. Yeah, let's make him a little taller. And then here, we're going to bring him on down. Pop him up again. And bring it all the way down. All right, so when we're doing this, we don't care about what happens underneath this line. All we care about is this top edge. That top edge there, that is what's most important. Other than that, doesn't matter what happens below it here. We can make and move and change things. All I'm trying to do is block in a little bit of color and then kind of lay out the foundations of our mountains. And heck, in reality, with just the way I move this knife, you can actually create the valleys and the way that your mountain is going to move just with these brush strokes like this. So we're just trying to block in a little bit of color. Let's get a little more over here on this side. Yeah. So as you can see, most of that paint color is going to get covered up. I just wanted it just a little bit of a glow kind of right over the top of it. Kind of adds a nice little warming effect when you look at that mountain. Alrighty. So there is that all put in place. Let me set this down, because normally what happens when I undo the top is I forget to put it back. So I always take mine and I pop it right up on the edge. Everybody's easel's different. I pop it up on the edge because if I leave it on the back, I can't reach the bottom of the painting, and at some point we're going to get there. So the less I move this thing and touch it, the less chance I have of dropping it or doing something crazy like that. So I'm going to secure it in nice and tight, and then we're going to grab our 2-inch brush with the dark color on it, and I'm just going to take it and I'm going to pull, and we're going to pull off some nice mountain ranges here. And so down here at the bottom, not really too concerned with what happens with it. I am just trying to lay in that top line. That is what's most important. But what I usually tend to do while I'm doing this is try to create the lay of the mountain. And this one's going to be a little different from traditional ones. This one is going to be a little more vertical and not so many ups and downs through it. And so while we bring it off here, we just want to kind of fade it off down into the bottom. That's what we want to have, a nice foggy effect. So I'm going to take my brush and wash it. In fact, I got several to wash here, so let's wash a couple of them. Nice and quick. So 1-inch brush, good to go. Now I have a couple of each of them because what I like to do is wash one and let it dry and then switch to the other one. Now, with the fan brushes, I don't beat the devil out of it like that. I've got some paper towels over here to kind of use to help me clean it off. All right, you're good to go there. And our 2-inch brush. Okay, oof. Lots of color in him. I'll clean it up a little better. There we go. And there we are. Now, a note of caution to you. If you paint next to your paintings, be very, very, very careful. I have ruined one before because that liquid white, when you're first putting it on, it is very thin in comparison to these other paints, and it can go flying right off your canvas just by you brushing it off. Or when you're beating the devil out of it, you're spraying stuff everywhere. So I've got covers here, covers on the ground to help protect my stuff from staying nice and clean. But it's very easy to make a mess. So just be aware of your surroundings when you're doing it. But it's fun to make a mess though too. So I'm going to come back actually up here because I accidentally went a little bit over on this side. I just wanted to add in a little bit of a stronger line there. Okay, so we are going to take this and we're just going to fade it off into the distance. We don't really care what happens to it that much right now. We just want to kind of fade it down. So what we need now is a clean knife. That would help. All right. And then we're going to grab some of our white. And what I like to do is if you take the white that had a little bit of blue in it from earlier from doing the clouds, you can take that and kind of stick it. I stick it right up there. So it's right in between my white and blue. Because what I'm going to end up doing is adding in just a little bit, and I mean a little bit of blue to it, because you see how quickly it changes it in color. So it does not take much to make that, but that's going to become our shadow color for doing our mountain. So now I'm going to take some of this white, pull it out nice and flat, a little bit of black. I want a nice gray color, and we're going to cool it with a little bit of blue as well. Again, doesn't take much, but we also want to leave it kind of nice and marbly like that. Now, I know there's a lot of real painters out there who say don't do stuff like that. My thought on that is do painting however you want. It's your painting. Enjoy it. So, got this marbled effect going on here. We're going to do the same thing. We're going to get a little bit of roll of paint right on there on the edge of the brush. And this is the test right here. How light is your touch? You're just going to be real light. The canvas is going to take whatever it wants to take off of it. You just got to let it take it. So, just going to come up here on the edge and boom. Now, that's a little dark. I want to brighten that up. That would work well and better as our shadow color. So, I'm going to leave that there for our shadow. And I'm going to come in here and make up a new white color. And I actually like it right where it's at. Nice. So, cut off a new roll, and it's no big deal. I can go in here and cover that right back up and put some white on there, and suddenly it's white. It's bright. There you go. We don't make mistakes. When Bob says that, it really is true. It is incredibly true, because you don't make mistakes. You really don't. Anything you do on this canvas, you can undo and redo to your liking. There is no limit to how you can do it. So just being real light with the touch, and what we're doing is we're creating the effect of where the mountain's coming down at. So you have to be careful when you're doing that. Get a little more black in here. Didn't mix up quite enough color, but it's just a real light touch, and then pull it down. The canvas will take off, and we want it to break like that. That breaking effect is what creates the little nooks and crannies in the rocks for our critters to live in, for our mountain explorers to go find and see and climb over all those nice rocks and things, and creates those little effects that you want to have. Excuse me. So you want to just be real light with your touch and pull it on down. And slowly we're just popping in a little bit of a mountain. All right. And the cool part is you can push things and move things back and forth as you want. So right now I got that white in there, and I like to start with all of my bright areas first. But I'm not committed to any of them. I can go in and change them and do things with them however I want to do it. I tend to have my foremost, middlest mountain, kind of the biggest, the one in the front the most. And then, let's see here. We're gonna pull him off here, and he's gonna drop in like that. Just like that. And so it's just a light touch, just pull it down nice and easy. Then we're gonna come back up in here with our shadow color, and we're going to start dropping in some of these little areas. Now, this blade here is a little too big to get in that area, so I'm going to actually skip that one. and I'm going to come in right in here and just pull it around. And it's just a light touch. Real light. Ooh, I like that. To get in that little one, I'm going to use the side of the blade. I'm just going to pull in a little bit and then go on sideways with it. And that lets me get the side of it nice and easy and work into those small little areas. And that's why I don't need two knives. I can do everything with this one knife, and you just got to learn how to work with it. Let's see here. So this one, we're going to pull him, and we're going to let him go down there and there, and just let him play. The important part though is every time you have a ridge, you got to give it a shadow color. Every light needs a shadow. There has to be a shadow to every part. So right here where I left this open, I'm going to come in here and I'm going to create a little bit of a valley down in there by making it a little bit darker. But also, you can see I'm leaving a lot of that undercolor coming through. That creates even more layers in the painting. That creates more depth. And then over here, and you can see that's got a real strong hint of a little blue in there, and I like that. I like it like that. I want to have some of those effects. I don't want it to be dull colors, one single monetary color. I like when you all of a sudden just get a little bit of a brightness to it that you just weren't expecting. Alrighty, so I'm going to go back in here. Let's see. I'm going to get a little bit more white. And we're going to add just a touch of white over here on the shadow side. I'm going to be honest, this is going to get covered up anyway, so it's not too important what it looks like in there. But sometimes you get some of these harsher lines and you kind of want to break them up. So that's real easy to do. Just go back in over it and just real light. Just kind of break them in together. Okay, and one last little thing we can do is we can take some of that original color from the mountain and just add in the least little touches of really dark areas. Just the least little touches. You don't need much. Let it work for you. Let's see. Yeah, I like that. I got one more little area I want to get with that. And then that, yeah. Oh yeah. That looks good. I like it. I can live with that painting right there. Those mountains look good to me. Let's go ahead. Cool. So, take our knife, clean it off. Cleaning the knife is the easiest one. It's not the funnest. The 2-inch brush is definitely the funnest, but it is easy. So I'm going to go back in here with a clean and dry brush. And I'm just going to begin tapping in, kind of softening up the edges because we want to create a little bit of a misty effect. We need to create, and you want to follow the angles. So over here, I'm just going to soften up this side of the mountain by pulling into it, and down here I'm just tapping along it and then going back up it. Really soft here, real soft. You could ruin your mountain really quickly here if you're not careful, but there we go. And it doesn't look like it creates too much of a change, but what it does is it creates a little light effect area for us to work in down there. So that's what we're after, because now that's how we can start, oops, we dropped a fan brush. That's how we can start creating more layers and effects into our painting. So let's clean this brush off here. Boop, boop. And then bang it. And there we go. So what you'll find is with the beginning of your painting, you'll start with the bigger brushes, and slowly as you work forward, you'll use smaller and smaller brushes. So enjoy getting to beat the devil out of it at the beginning, because you won't get to do it forever. So let's get going here. We're going to put in a little bit of a footy hill here with another footy hill here, and then create a little bit of a lake around those footy hills. So since this is off in the distance, we definitely don't want too much showing on it. So we're going to take some of this white and mountain color, mix them together to create different values of that color. And so we just want to be real light with it. And I'm just going to tap right into that brush, pick up all that delicious color, and then just go right over here to the side and pop in just a little bit of a footy hill. All right. Now, my brush, it's not holding together too well, like it's not clumped together. Again, cheap brush, but hey, you can make it work. But what it's actually nice that it's doing about that is it's creating little indications of trees without me even having to do it. Normally, you would go in here and just pop in and just pull straight up to create those little indications. But with this guy, he is doing it for us. So now we want to come forward again, and we want to create just a little bit. In fact, actually, I'm going to dull down the bottom of this. We're going to dull it down by just beating it into the canvas. You can hear how hard I'm hitting it. You just got to smack it around a little bit, kind of bring it off into a point here, because again, we want misty areas. That's how you differentiate between levels in your painting, different planes. So we're going to go back into that same color, but we're going to darken it up just a little bit. And then from here, I'm going to work up into the mountain and then come down into here. And there we go. Just like that, we've created a couple of planes for us to work with. So I'm going to take this guy and I'm going to pop him straight up. Little indications. Now as you come up the hill, make sure to keep your indications nice and straight so those trees are standing straight up. They grow towards the sun, they don't grow out. All right, so back again, same thing. Just gonna soften up this bottom edge just by beating on it. That's picking up that liquid white underneath and helping to soften it out between there. I'm gonna beat off some of that excess paint, and I'm just gonna soften the edge like that. Cool. So what we now want to do is we can take some of this and let's turn this area right in here. In fact, we're gonna darken up this area just a little bit with some Phthalo Blue. There we go, I like that. Now we're going to put in the slightest amount of shadow color underneath here. And so we're going to do that by just taking that same color and going right underneath it and pulling straight down. All right, in fact, we're going to make this a little taller on this side here. So that way our water can be right in here, all the way across. All right. Clean brush. I'm just going to go sideways across it. All right. Then we can take our knife here, get us a little bit of the liquid white, which I have right over here. Pull that across. So now we got some of just naturally liquid white, get it nice and thin, and we're going to cut us off a little roll of it and use it to just cut in just the indication of a little water line. And if you got somewhere like this that's just a little bright, just take it, wipe your blade off right here, then come back and just work it in. It will dull itself out nice and quickly for you. But here's where you want to try to keep your lines nice and straight, because you don't want your painting and water to just run right off the edge. And in fact, we're going to add just a little bit here, a little bit here. There we go. All right. That is that. So now let's get crazy, shall we? Let's get crazy. So let's take our knife again, and we are going to, oh my goodness, my hands are a mess today. Normally my hands don't get that dirty, but they are full of paint today. So let's clear us off a little space to work here, and we're gonna make, again, a real just nice dark color. I want more black in it this time. All of our Prussian blue. We're going to take a lot of Van Dyke brown, get that in there, a little Alizarin Crimson, some Sap Green this time, and there we go. Yeah, nice and dark. It's got a bluish hint to it, but that red kind of helps offset it, as does that green. That green and red make a very nice brown, so by putting those browns in there, makes it a really nice dark color. All right. That should be good enough for us for government work here. Let me go ahead. Should we clean it? Nah, it's fine. We're just going to go ahead and take that same dirty brush that we used to create those back to, and we're just going to get it nice and full of color. And we're just going to pop in, a little footy hill right here, a little hill right here, and cover up the rest of it. There we go. So yeah, you can see this is more of a bluish color in the background. This is starting to come more black, and I hope that comes across on the camera. So with every round we're getting darker and darker. And the thing is we have to work in the dark color first before we go and start placing on our light color. So I'm just gonna get in here, and honestly, you can just paint this on in there. Not a big deal. You can see some of that green coming through. I like that. I like that. Now I'm gonna keep blotting it now that I got a good amount of the paint on there, because that blotting gives you that texture effect, and rubbing it gives it a much smoother. And the more layers and things, and the more you keep hitting it, the softer and softer everything gets. So I want to try to preserve some of that texture as best I can. All right, so I think it's time for some trees. Let's get some more of that covered. Alrighty. There we go. So we are wrapping this bad boy up here pretty quickly. Let's go ahead. I think we are just about done with our 2-inch brush, or our 1-inch brush, rather. Take this bad boy here, clean it. Okay. So we're going to take, honestly, that exact same color. Let's just kind of clean it up a little bit. Make a little bit more. A little sap green and a little more black. There we go. And you can see I've got a lot of a painting up on there, and I still have colors left. So, like I said, you don't need a lot. You don't need a lot of color to do this. And truly, anybody really can paint these. It really is impressive how you really don't need all that experience, all that stuff. No, you don't. You just got to want to do it. And if you enjoy doing it, you will paint just fine, and you will paint some beautiful, awesome things. My hope is I would love to see some of y'all's artwork. I love looking at artwork. It is just very, very relaxing. I oftentimes have some stressful days, and going and painting or watching Bob or looking at what other amazing people can do, just awesome. So I'm thinking right here, we're going to put in a little bit of an evergreen. So this one's called First Snow, and I think he calls it First Snow because he paints it in a fall setting. And it's right around the corner where it's going to start snowing, and maybe we had our first snow up in the mountains for the first time. And I like that, so we're going to keep it with a fall setting. This is where you start to decide what season are you painting this in, and you could have even decided that back in there. So with a spring, fall, winter, you want snow in your mountains. If you want to make it a summer painting, yeah, you might have a little bit of snow, but you're going to keep it more to the earthy tones. And then with the colors you're going to put in here, with the fall, you get the beautiful just golds and reds and yellows. Summer, bright greens. Spring, I like to use a little bit more of a dark green for my trees. And then for winter, I like to keep everything very white and blues. Beautiful, beautiful stuff. So I'm going to come up here with the fan brush. I've loaded it full of this same dark color. And all I'm going to do is come up on the side here. He's going to live right there. So I'm just going to tap in kind of the first little lines of him. Load it back up with color. Start on the very edge, just right here. And I've heard him call it Z trees, things like that. Because the idea is you just start with just a little, and you slowly just start tapping in more and more pressure. And as you work your way down, you just add more and more pressure to it and start to fill in that tree. It's not hard to do. So I'm going to go in here and add just a little more color in there. There we are. And honestly, he's going to be alone over there. I know that's not a common thing, but we're going to go and I want to put a little bit of depth into this painting. So this is kind of risky to do sometimes. Sometimes it works out nice, sometimes it doesn't, but we're going to try it. We're going to try it. So I'm going to put just a little tree right here, just a little one. And there he is. And maybe, you know what? He's got some friends. And so all I'm going to do is just tap in and pull down some of the top lines of their trees. And these guys are down the hill. It's like we're up on top and we're going to walk down to the lake and go past this little clump of trees. So I'm going to add another one right here, make him a little bigger, more prominent. And one more. All right, so we got a little far off distance trees down there, and now it's time for a couple of big ones. The big tree. This is where you gotta really commit to the painting. It's your bravery test. It's a lot of fun. Let's see, what time are we at? 43, not too bad. All right, let's get this wrapped up here nice and quick. So we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna drop in a big tree. He's gonna live right there. It's where he lives now. No going back. I got a big old dark line in the sky. Got to make something happen with him. So this guy, so this one I did the bristles down. You can do the bristles down, up. It just depends which way you're pushing. Down, up or down on your brush. I tend to push down. I just think it's a little more natural for me when I'm painting. So that's the way I do it often. But I've made some really nice trees that surprised me by doing it a different direction. So definitely try it both ways. See which way you like better, which way comes out looking nicer. And whatever you're happy with, that's the way to do it. That is the answer. Alrighty, so we got him in over here, and then he needs a friend. Like I said, we're going to end up covering up that area. So let's go. Do we go right through the middle? Nah, we're gonna save part of that mountain there, and he's gonna live right in there. He lives right there. So just gonna blot him in, and there he is. So there is those trees. And I'm thinking I'm almost tempted to put a big old tree and just just right through the middle. And I'm honestly thinking he might live right there, but you know what? We're gonna stay with what we got. We're gonna stay with what we have. I think that's enough trees for today's painting. You make that decision though. If you want a big tree, you pop them in there. So what we're gonna do now is we need to start adding in some colors. We got all this dark in here. We got to start separating things out. So I'm gonna pull out some Van Dyke Brown. Actually, this isn't Van Dyke Brown. This is raw Umber. The painting supply store where I went to go get it didn't have Van Dyke Brown, so this was the closest I can get. Next time I'm going to try to get Van Dyke Brown because it is a lot darker than this. But we're going to have right there a nice little rock, so I'm going to blot in some dark color for some rocks. Coming down the hill. I love painting me some rocks. Just painting and doing this technique, it's a lot of fun to me to do, and I thoroughly enjoy it. So every time I get the chance to paint some rocks, I do it. I definitely do it. Try to include them in every painting I do. Just like that. Okay, so I'm going to take just some of our highlight colors from our mountain that we still had left over. Oh, he is full of brown now. That's all right. And just real lightly graze it on down. Simple as that. Now we got some indications of some little rocks that live right out in here. Alrighty, and last one. Cool. So that also helps with the lay of the land in there. So we're saying that it's coming down this way. So we need to go ahead and let's add some to our trees. And I'm actually going to take that same highlight color. I do like that brown in there that I just used for the rock. And I'm going to create some trunks for these guys. So they need a trunks to be nice and tall. So I'm just going to put some indications of some little trunks in there. Nothing too crazy. These guys I don't really want to touch. I might touch this one right in the middle, but I don't want to touch them too much. These guys though, I definitely can. Definitely. Ooh, he's got a little crook in him now. Alrighty. I enjoy making trunks. Trunks on a tree and painting the bark is one of the funnest things to me to do. Because when you do a big tree and you really get to focus on the design of the tree, you can create some cool looking stuff within that bark. So with this, let's go ahead. I got another fan brush around in here. This is the one I like to use for the highlight colors. So these guys are evergreens, so we're going to go straight into our yellow. Get a good amount of yellow and just a touch, doesn't take much, of blue. And look at that, you got a beautiful green color. And what's going to happen is we're going to pick up these undertones here, and these got the greens and the blues in there, so it's going to help keep it to a greenish shade while you're doing it. But don't be scared of picking up that undercolor. Don't be scared of it. You're gonna pick it up and it's okay. It's okay. When you want to come back and get some more. And what you might need to do, and it looks like I need to do it here, is just get the least little touch of paint thinner, because we need to help it stick. And the golden rule is a thin paint sticks to a thick paint. And just like that, now we're actually getting to see some color going on there. And I got two sides of the paintbrush. So let's see here. We'll go back up into this yellow. And real quickly, this yellow just always turns into a green. And depending upon whether you're trying to keep it yellow or whether you're trying to keep it green, that's where you got to decide, do I need to clean out the area? What do I need to do to help it stay? Do I need to wash this brush every time? Sometimes I'll take the brush and I'll go and run it on my paper towels until I start to see that yellow-green color come out again. And that helps keep it a lot brighter. Let's see. So this guy, he's going to live right in there. All right. And we don't need, oops, that's a lot of undercolor. Oh, goodness. That just totally changed that, and that's all right. So, you don't need too much color in this one, because a lot of the color from our trees and the evergreens are going to be a lot darker this time of the year, since we're doing a fall painting for this one. In fact, I'm going to go ahead and clean this brush out because it's getting a little full. And let's switch on over to this guy. Take our knife. I'm going to clean off some of that. That way I can go back into some fresh color. A little paint thinner. Ooh, a lot of paint thinner. Ooh, goodness. See, that instantly turned it like liquid on here. So this is going to stick no problem to our painting. Too much. That's why you got to be careful with it. But that's all right. The careful part is when you go to stick it on here, it's going to stick so well you might get circles rather than getting the paint blotted in there the way you actually want it. So that actually went on there real nice. In fact, so I'm going to go ahead and I'm just going to grab just a touch of blue and try to get this nice green color back again. There we go. Beautiful, beautiful green. Phthalo blue and yellow make just a gorgeous, gorgeous green. I'm going to come back up in here and add in a little bit of that touch as well. And you don't want to kill all your darks. You got to be careful about that. You got to be careful about that. But you definitely don't need, it's easy to get carried away with it, is definitely true. So I am good with that. So now what we're going to do is we're going to start putting in some grassy areas here. And in fact, also, the one thing I think I do want to change about his painting here is I want to add in, and looks like I'm going to need some more brown for it. So I want to add in a little pathway. So I'm going to go ahead and jot out where that pathway is going to go. And then we're going to start adding in some, oh goodness, got paint all over this guy here. So we're going to add in that pathway, add the grass around it, and we got ourselves a finished painting. So not too much left to do on it. Let's see. All right. So when we're doing a path here, we want to start in the back and work forward. And it's going to be smaller towards the back and then get larger and larger as we come forward. And there we are. So now I know kind of where it's going to go in there and what's going to happen with it. So now we can start to add in some of those other colors. So let me grab a 1-inch brush. Get it nice and clean real quick. And let's go ahead. Now, with the 1-inch brush, the way you want to load it, especially when you're making bushes or stuff, is we'll load it in one direction. You're going to load it up with lots of paint. It's going to put all the bristles in one direction, and then we can come up here and just be real gentle with adding in all kinds of pretty little bushes. Now, that one's pretty dark in that area, so let's go ahead. Let's add in some different colors. Ooh, yeah. Now, this is real subtle in the background against that dark color. So let's go ahead. We need to clean off this area. Get some fresh new yellow on our board here. our palette. All right, brand new fresh yellow, look at that. Pop off the top. She looks good to go. I would say yellow is one of the colors you go through a lot of, simply because it's used to make so many awesome greens and other things like that. And then when you do that, I feel like I have to clean it a lot to get it back to that nice pretty yellow color and things like that. So it's yellow, white, blue, black, brown, definitely ones that you use a lot. All right, just a touch of paint thinner on there. And there we go. Now you can start seeing some of those bushes kind of back up against this tree. All right, and then let's see here. Gonna clean off some of that dark color. Go right back into our yellow. And I'm just gonna start mixing the yellows around. And right up in here, we're just gonna start laying in some of our grass. You know what? We're gonna switch off. We're going to, let's fill in our path. And then let's grab a fan brush that has lots of color in it already. And we're just going to begin blotting it in to create some of this grassy areas. And we're going to bring it right down in front of there. And by doing that, we're going to cut off that plane in the back there. We want to separate it to where those are off in the distance, little distant trees. And then here, we're just going to start working back and forth between the greens and the yellows and all the different colors. And right here, we're just going to add in all kinds of different little things. Working back and forth, coming up onto our path. But you want to start thinking about the way the land goes. And so what we can do, for example, to kind of help us keep these as bushes and this as grass, is draw in, scrape in just little indications of some sticks and twigs and other things back in there. That kind of helps it make it look a little stand up. And then we can use a different color to come in to separate that and put that down. So there's that. Let's keep going. Let's see. Grab in. This is where you start to really run the risk of doing what's called mud mixing. And when you start just making all kinds of colors you don't really want, and so when you start to get things you don't want to see, clean your brushes. Clean your area that you're working with. Start over. When you clean it, it'll help you keep things separated, keep things going the nice colors that you want to see and have. Let's see. So we're just working between all of our different yellows here because we're going to create some fall colors in our grass. That's what we want to see, is fall colors. So up here at the top of the hill, I'm kind of doing a little flatter and then bringing it on down as we go down. All right, then here, and filling it all in, nice and easy. Almost done. You know what? We're going to grab just a little touch of the bright red as well. Mix that in there, and that can give you some beautiful, beautiful things. All right. So, with that, we just about have a finished painting, just about. Let's do just a couple more things here and there. The last thing I want to do is add just a touch of highlight to our trail we got going there. And I got just a little bit too much, but what I'm doing is mixing up some burnt sienna and white, and I'm just going to come in here and just the lightest little touches. Give that indication of a trail with some dirt on it. Then we go back with some grass and bury it up. All right. There we go. Now, with every single painting we do, you always want to take it and sign it. Make sure everybody knows it is your painting. So I always sign it with a nice bright red. So I'm going to grab some paint there. Go into the bright red down here. I don't ever get out much bright red because you never need very much. Never need a lot. But I'm just going to twist it. I'm going to go down here and sign my name. And with that, we will call this finished. I hope you guys did enjoy today's painting. It is a nice one. Turned out all right. The things I might add up in the top maybe after the video is maybe some birds, little bird silhouettes, things like that. Might add another fluffy cloud or something. But if you guys did enjoy, I'm thinking about doing a painting video every single Sunday. So tune in for that. We'll do something different every time. Until then, guys, take care, stay safe out there, and have a good one.